All right, so you might have heard our illustrious once and future president is on trial for his life in Lower Manhattan right now.
Very
Uh,
unfair.
Very unfair. It's very unfair what they're doing to Donald Trump. Uh, Trump gripes he can't reject unlimited jurors in New York hush money trial. That's a Trump classic right there. Donald Trump complained Wednesday that his lawyers were not given unlimited chances to reject prospective jurors at his New York criminal hush money trial. But state law caps the number of would-be jurors his lawyers can strike without cause. Trump has received that correct number of strikes given the type of criminal charges he faces, 10 peremptory strikes for jurors, plus another 2 for every alternate juror. Quote, I thought strikes were supposed to be unlimited when we were picking our jury, Trump wrote in a post on Truth Social. Now, I don't know, man. Anybody who's ever watched any Law and Order shit, anything like that, knows better than that. I can't believe he doesn't. I think he's relying on people who follow him not knowing, and he's just feeding their grievance. See how they rigged it?
True, but in his defense, I will say it is particularly difficult to find unbiased jurors when the person on trial is the president of the United States, who's not arguably, certainly the most controversial public figure of the last 50 years in America.
Well, that's an argument, and I agree. Yeah. It's an argument that if you're Donald Trump, there is no one on earth without an opinion about Donald Trump. So it's impossible.
Yeah, much less what are the odds you're going to find someone
jury
without an opinion of Trump within the first 20 people, right?
Or in, or in New York City.
Right. Or in New York City. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I was then told we only had 10, not nearly enough when we were purposely given the second worst venue in the country. Although that cuts both ways. I mean, if you put them in Ohio, it would just cut the other way. Right. Like, where could you get a fair and impartial jury in America or in the world, really, for a Donald Trump trial?
Malta, maybe.
Maybe Malta.
Maltese people are pretty chill. They don't really have strong political opinions, you know? My grandparents liked going to Trump's hotels in Atlantic City. They didn't think much of them. Then again, at the time, nobody really did.
Nobody did, exactly.
Yeah.
Trump suggested that New York City, which leans heavily Democratic, is only better than Washington, D.C. Trump also faces criminal election interference charges in federal court in Washington. Samantha Chorney, a criminal defense lawyer in New York City, told CNBC that if there were unlimited peremptory strikes as Trump wants, I mean, no one would ever pick a jury. Well, yeah. Trump's complaint on Truth Social demonstrates, quote, his willful ignorance of the law, said Jeremy Saland, another New York criminal defense attorney. Trump, after court Tuesday, accused Merchan, that's the judge in the case, of rushing. But he previously complained that the projected 6-week length of the trial is a form of election interference because it would keep him off of the campaign trail. Trump is charged in the case with falsifying business records related to the $130,000 hush money payment his then lawyer Michael Cohen gave porn star Stormy Daniels shortly before the 2016 presidential election. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg accuses Trump of trying to influence that election, which he ended up winning, by covertly silencing Daniels from speaking about a sexual tryst she had with Trump years earlier. Trump denies having sex with Daniels. After the trial adjourned Tuesday afternoon, Trump visited the Sanaa convenience store in Harlem, which is very close to me, by the way. I wish I had known that, which was the site of a fatal stabbing in 2022 that led to a controversial charging decision by Bragg's office. All right, so in case anybody doesn't know, in that case, literally it was like an old Latino man who got beat up by a black defendant, and when he stabbed him, he got charged. Like, it was the height of the George Floyd thing. But it was so clearly insane to charge this poor old guy who was literally fighting for his life. Did Trump do it? Almost certainly, in my opinion. We also know, if you want to talk about election interference, look what they did with the Hunter Biden laptop. So I think the argument is selective prosecution more than it's did he do it. Of course, come on. Of course, he fucked the porn star and paid to cover it up.
I'd have gotten more votes if they found out I fucked the porn star. I'd have won by bigger. I'd have won the popular vote if people found out that I had fucked the porn star, but I didn't do it.
And if
I did it, I'd be bragging about it. Believe me.
I would. It's not easy to make a porn star yell "ouch," and I did.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
All right. I'm very gifted. I'm a very gifted president.
It's very difficult to get a porn star to say too deep, but she did. Or not she did. I'm sorry. She would have if I did it. I forgot. I didn't do it. That's right. I almost forgot.
If I had. But there have been others. There have been others.
Yeah, right. But there have been others.
And every one of them said, "Donald, it's too big. It's too big. When I saw your hands, I thought you were safe."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is Nicole Wallace, and they're going over an account of a juror they tried to disqualify because you have 10 where you don't have to give a reason. I don't like that juror.
Right.
You don't have to explain it. You do have unlimited challenges for cause. But so this was a case where their claim of cause was rejected.
Trial?
Well, that was the judge actually reminded them of that. But and the first one.
What does that mean? I mean, they're not on trial.
Well, that was the judge actually reminded them of that. But they had things on their social media posts that Donald Trump and his lawyers found troubling. Mm-hmm. So the first one
in the category of bias.
Bias, yeah, because you're wondering, what are they posting, and will it go to whether or not they can be fair? Mm-hmm. So they asked about them. The first one was juror number 1. So the first one, and they bring up some social media posts to the judge. The judge wants to see them. They've screenshotted it. The judge is looking at them, and he's really confused. He says, "Did you give me the right piece of paper?" He didn't even understand what he was looking at. So there were some questions. Between that and he ended up wanting to see, they were videos, they were screenshots of videos. And one of the videos happened to be the juror number 1, had taken a video at a distance of what looked like a celebration in the streets of New York for when Trump lost in 2020. I think that was it. Mm-hmm. And it showed that she was biased, and there was some language that suggested that she might have a bias. So she was called in and interviewed by the judge, and she said she happened to take the video when it was on the Upper West Side, and she was outside parking her car, and there was people celebrating in the distance. So she thought it was a very New York moment, and she posted it. Mm-hmm. I also loved that it involved alternate side parking in New York. It all comes down to that in New York. So she was interviewed and left the room, and then we didn't have the cameras on, so we didn't have a visual of Donald Trump at this point from the overflow room that I sit in. We have closed circuit TVs, but the judge there was some back and forth between the lawyers, and then the judge actually admonished the former president because he was huffing and puffing and gesturing towards the juror. He said the judge said it was completely inappropriate, and he said, "I won't tolerate it. I won't have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom." And his lawyer had to go speak to him. So that was like a moment. And the judge found in this case, in this juror, that this juror could continue. And they, wasn't immediately pulled, but
Okay, so you got a juror who left their house to film the celebration, the brunch time celebration when the race was called for Biden. She says, "No, I'm just capturing the moments. I'm fucking, Ken Burns now. I'm just doing just capturing the moment. It's a great New York moment." Yeah, I left my Upper West Side apartment to go film the celebration that he had lost. This is what I mean, man. How do you find unbiased jurors? When I went for jury duty, their case was...
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Who would they not end up disqualifying?
Exactly.
Like, you show me someone in New York on either side that you would not find any social media opinions about Donald Trump.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't exist. When I went for jury duty, there were jurors thrown out. The case was basically a bicyclist shot out in front of the road, and a car stopped short so he wouldn't hit the bicyclist, and then the car behind the car that stopped short rear-ended the car that didn't hit him in time.
Right.
So they disqualified certain jurors on the basis of they ride bicycles, so they are affected, somehow by this case. Like, they're not unbiased because they might feel that the car stopped too short in front of the bicycle because the bicyclists may have a chip on their shoulder. Like, I don't know what the rationale was, but they asked, who here rides a bike? Raise hand. You're out. That's cause. in a civil trial for a minor fender bender, right? With some probably a personal injury claim. I don't know. I didn't get picked for the case myself either because I had a scheduling conflict. Wink, wink.
Apparently at the top, they did ask who feels that they cannot be impartial about Donald Trump, and about 50 raised their hand and were immediately dismissed. So that's the smart play. The rest of these people are the freaks who actually want to be on this trial. Which some of them might want to be on the trial because they want to vote against Trump, certainly, especially in New York.
Please clap.